common presences even the taste and desire for what is called objective being. The manifestations of the mentioned Pietro Eretznel, personally in relation to my person, began to have their action already from the very morning of the following day, in this sense, that every data for being notion about my personality, which had been before this already soundly fixed in the presences of all the beings there who knew me, suddenly sharply changed, thanks only to this objectively maleficent official presentation of me to their highest power-possessing beings. My personal significance and their notion about all my qualities and merits also changed for their individuality. I suddenly became for all important and wise, extraordinary and interesting, and so on and so forth. That is, the possessor of all kinds of abnormal being qualities thought out by themselves. As a very characteristic example, which will well make clear to you what I have just said, the following illustration may serve. The proprietor of that shop where, before going to my business, I bought the provisions for my kitchen, wished on the first morning after this, as is sometimes said there, royal audience of mine, to bring, happen what may, my purchases home to me himself. All the police standing at the street corners in that district in which I had temporarily dwelt, and who already knew me well as a newcomer physician, began at the sight of me, while still standing some way off, to salute, just as they saluted that important general of theirs. The same evening, the chief of that department to which I had first of all applied, himself personally brought me to my house that unfortunate permit, giving me the right to have my own laboratory, and to receive which I had languished for 3 months, waiting on the doorsteps of every kind of official and unofficial establishment. And on the second day I received yet 4 other permits for this, from various departments of other ministries into whose province it did not at all enter to issue such permits, but to whom, on account of this same dilly-dallying of theirs, I had had to apply during my senseless hustlings. The owners of the houses, shopkeepers, children, and in general all who dwelt in the same street as I did, became as amiable with me as if I intended to leave each of them a large American legacy, and so on and so forth. After this empty Kralnian happening to me, I, by the way, further learned that this unfortunate Tsar of theirs also always prepares himself for such official meetings with beings strange to him. Of these official meetings like this, he has very many, almost every day, and even several times a day. Here a parade of troops, there an audience with the ambassador of some other emperor, in the morning a delegation, at noon a presentation such as mine, later a reception of different what are called representatives of the people. And with each of these it is necessary for him to talk, and even to make them an entire speech, as each word of every such terrestrial czar can have and often does have serious consequences, not only for the beings of that community of whom he is czar, but also for the beings of other communities. Therefore each word must be thought out from every side. Well, for this, around these emperors or czars who become such by hereditary rights or by election, there are many specialists from among the ordinary 3-brained beings there, in order that they may prompt them as to what they must do and say in every circumstance. And these promptings and directions must be carried out in such a way that the strangers may not notice that their emperor or czar manifests not from his own, but from others' initiative. And in order to remember all this, these czars must of course also practice. And what it means to practice, you can probably already picture to yourself after what I've just told you. I understood this with all my being when I prepared myself for my illustrious presentation. During my existence on that planet, such a preparation, by the way, was necessary for me personally only once. Were such preparations necessary every day and for every separate occasion, then may one be spared from experiencing such a merciless fate. I personally at least would not under any conditions be in the skin of such a terrestrial emperor or czar, and would neither wish it for my very worst enemy nor for the enemy of my nearest. After this unforgettable supreme presentation of mine, I very soon left St. Petersburg for other parts of the continent of Europe and began to have as the chief places of my existence various cities of the countries which were situated both on that same continent Europe as well as on other continents. I was again later many times, but for other affairs, in the same community Russia, where during that period of the flow of time their great process there of reciprocal destruction took place, and the destruction of everything already attained by them, which this time, as I've already told you, was called by them Bolshevism. You remember I promised to relate to you about the fundamental real causes of this arch-phenomenal process. Well, it is necessary to tell you that this grievous phenomenon arises there thanks to two independent factors, the first of which is the cosmic law solu nensius, and the second is always the same abnormal conditions of ordinary being existence established by them themselves. In order that you should better understand about both these factors, I will explain to you about each of them separately, and will begin by the cosmic law solu nensius. First of all, you must be told that all the three-brained beings on whatever planet they may arise, and whatever exterior coating they may receive, always await the manifestations of the action of this law with impatience and with joy. Somewhat how your favorites await what are called their feasts of Easter, Bairam, Zadik, Ramadan, Kayalana, and so on. The only difference is in this, that your favorites await these feasts of theirs with impatience, because on these holy days it has become customary among them to allow themselves to be more jolly and to booze freely, while the beings of the other planets await the action of solu nensius with impatience, because, thanks to it, the need for evolving, in the sense of the acquiring of objective reason by them, increases in them by itself. As regards the causes which bring forth this same action of this cosmic law, they are for each planet different, and always flow from and depend upon what is called the common cosmic harmonious movement. Moreover, frequently for your planet Earth, what is called the center of gravity of causes is the periodic tension of the sun of its system, which tension proceeds in its turn thanks to the influence upon this sun of a neighboring solar system, which exists under the name of Baliauto. In this latter system, however, such a center of gravity of causes arises because among the number of its concentrations there is a great comet Solny, which, according to certain known combinations of the common cosmic harmonious movement, at times approaches on its falling very near to its sun Baliauto, which is forced by this